What's up? How you doing? Here we are, Friday. Beautiful day today. Nice clear skies. No rain. I think we're done with the rain. We had a lot of rain past 30-40 days. But I think finally we're past that. So today is warm, slight breeze, very nice out. I remember when I was growing up, the 70s. That was a very fun time to be a kid. A lot of adventures back then, a lot of kids in my neighborhood to play with. And most of us back then, there were a few, but most of us were not shadowed around by our parents. There were some that grew up that way, where the parents were constantly watching them. Would they go, or are they, following them around with surveillance equipment? I didn't grow up like that. I was free as a bird, as they say. And one of the best things back in the 70s were the cartoons. 4, 5, and 7 had cartoons on until 2. Fat Albert was the last one. I would get up at 7 and I'd watch my shows, and it gave you a feeling of well-being for some reason. I don't know. I would have my windows open, especially in the fall, spring and summer. In the wintertime I'd have them open too, but the fall time had that nice crisp air coming in, and I had these pillows, fluffy pillows I'd put under my chest and grab like this, and then I would jump from the back of the bed where the pillows were, the other pillows, and I'd jump and remain suspended in the air for about, I don't know, 1/10 of a second, which to me back then it seemed a lot longer. Pineapple juice, good stuff. And I felt like I was flying, but I'd spend my day watching cartoons. And then it wasn't just cartoons though, it was something called the Shazam and Mighty Isis show. You had Captain Marvel, Shazam, and he was better than Superman. First of all, he had guidance, and once he said the word Shazam, he didn't look like Billy Batson anymore. He looked like, well, this is the movie version, but he looked like an older guy. Like a guy in his mid-30s. Not like Superman, where the glasses were the only disguise. So I used to love watching this show in the 70s. And then ISIS would come on. And once in a while they would cross universes and be in each other's show. But ISIS was cool too. She had that medallion that she found in Egypt, and she would say, "Almighty Isis," and the echo, reverberation in the air would change her into Isis, and then she would say a rhyme and lift up and fly. Although she was the same actress, though, it wasn't like they changed actresses to play that. She recently died. Very good-looking woman. But yeah, recently died, and I used to love that show. As a matter of fact, and I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. In the 3rd grade, we went on a field trip, and I had a dream the night before that on this field trip, I left a box, or I left something on the bus, and I asked the teacher, "Hey, can I go grab something off the bus?" And while we were at the field trip. And she said, "Sure." So I went on the bus in my dream, which felt like real life. And underneath the seat I was sitting was a box. And I go, "That looks familiar." And it was familiar because it was the same box that they showed on Mighty Isis when she opens it up and finds a medallion inside. So I open up the box, and inside was the medallion. And I put it on. And I knew that Isis was a female. So I go, "I wonder what I'm going to look like." So I put the medallion on, and I said, you have to say, "Oh," I guess. So I said, "Almighty Isis." And immediately a flash of light, and I looked in the mirror on the bus, and I had a male version Isis outfit on. Very cool looking. I still look like me. I didn't change physically. It was still me, but I had the outfit on. And I said a couple of rhymes in my dream, and I was able to lift up. Mama's boy. Mama's boy trying to compensate. So anyway, I changed back to myself and I went into the field trip area, and I didn't tell anybody. And then I woke up and I was annoyed that it was a dream. Always been fascinated with that jewelry thing that she had. But I loved watching Shazam and ISIS. So it was a good time to grow up back then in the 70s. A lot of kids don't realize how much fun we had, because now they just play on their phones all day. But anyway, clear that. Bought that last night. I don't know why you need that for. Seems like, you know, aggravation on your back, flapping. Can he fly without this? This has any power? No. And this one is long. On the show, it was like up here somewhere. It was like a mini cape. But I think you'd take that off, leave it home. You know. But yeah, I saw the movie. I'm not a fan of the reality that these superheroes operate in these days. I prefer like the reality that we live in, but they operate in some kind of fantasy land. Not into that. I want to see Shazam, but I want him to be in our world, and only him. I don't need to have like 30 other superheroes in there with him. I wish they would make a a serious Shazam with Mentor. I don't know why he called him Mentor. He was a mentor, but you know, I guess it's like boxing. Your coach is called coach. Say, hey coach. I never got into that, calling my gym teacher coach. Hey coach. Sounds a little bit corny. You know, I used to call my gym teacher like nothing. I would just get into the topic. You know, if I wanted something like I need to go to the bathroom, I would just say, can I go to the bathroom? I didn't say coach or Mr. I don't know, Radoff. Can I go to the bathroom? 99.9999% of the time when I would talk to a teacher, I would just get into the topic. I never used their name, because I figured since I'm looking at them and I'm talking, I didn't have to say a Mr., you know, Jones, can I go to the bathroom? I just said, can I go to the bathroom? Anyway, Billy Batson would call his mentor, not Jim, not Peter, not Jack, but mentor. And then he had that I don't know what that was, fancy thing with lights on it. Back in the 70s, if you wanted to show that you had a powerful computer or something that was, you know, extraordinary, you would add blinking lights. All the computer systems on the $6 Million Man had blinking lights. You know, it was like I don't know, Captain Crunch would pop up and operate the computers. It was ridiculous, all these blinking lights. And we see now that we're in the future, they don't have computers like that. Big frame, mainframe, whatever computers that have all these little lights blinking. What is the point of all those lights? But anyway, he had this round bowling ball thing with lights on it. And when he wanted to talk to, what was it, Solomon, Hercules, Achilles, Zeus, what's the other guy, Adamant, and Atlas, and who was the last guy? Mercury, right? He'd put his hand on that, call his elders, and then he would go into some place in his mind. They were cartoon figures, and he was himself. I don't know why they had to be cartoons. Probably save money on actors, right? And they would all give him advice, but it was all ambiguous advice, like nonsensical stuff. And then he would come back, and mentor would ask him what happened. He would say, you know, they said something about, and then they'd have that music, you know, that, you know, intense music, and they would end up somewhere up here, you know, on these roads, like by Malibu or that area, or Bronson Cave, whatever. and then he would jump out of the Winnebago and utter the word Shazam, and the lightning would hit him. Big flash, and then all of a sudden he would look like this. But back then they didn't have the computers to generate the flying and all the images that we have now, so it was a little bit, you know, cheesy. But because we had nothing to compare it to that was better, we liked it. I loved it. Everybody I knew watched it. And this guy's the ultimate superhero. He looks different. He doesn't have to, you know, unbutton his shirt. He doesn't have to wear his uniform or his outfit, his costume underneath his suit. How does that fit anyway? Like Clark Kent. Clark Kent was a reporter, and then underneath his suit, he had this bulky thing wrapped up in the back. Nobody ever said to him, I mean, if I put this on and I put a dress shirt, it would look like I had 10 hefty bags underneath my shirt. People would say, what's all this material you're wearing underneath? But not Superman, you know. And then it must have, you know, been hard for him. He's got a suit on, and then he's got like long underwear underneath the suit, and a cape. And then he has to find a secret location to change, like a telephone booth. Well, not much room in there, but... So this guy is much better than Superman. And he doesn't have any... That's a mama's boy, I can tell you right now. He probably lived in his mother's basement. Anyway, what's this guy's weakness? Doesn't have a weakness. It's not like they wrap, I don't know, carbon around him and he gets all weak like Superman with kryptonite. So, that's it. That's it. I'm still interested in that medallion though. They don't, you know, I've looked online, they don't sell that medallion anywhere. Oh, I'll be right back. I have one more thing, one more item of interest. Alright, I'm back. Went and got a beverage too. 100% pineapple juice Dole. We should make these bigger. I mean, is this really a serving? This is more like a sample. Serving size 1. This is not 1. Nobody drinks just this much. This is like a quarter of a serving. Just charge more money, make a bigger can. Gotta go inside 10 times. Look at that. That is not a serving, and there's ice in there. So one thing about me, I shake everything well, all my beverages, except if it's just water. But everything else, even soda, I just let it sit for 5 minutes. But I shake everything. I shake orange juice, pineapple, anything. I want it to be the proper mix. I don't want to have any clunky thing on the bottom. So anyway, what's going on? Let me see something here. Check something. Alright, so a long time ago a movie came out. It was called Rocky III, starring Sylvester Stallone, Carl Weathers, Mr. T, and Talia Shire, Burt Young, Burgess Meredith was in there. And when that movie came out, there were a lot of rumors. One rumor was that Rocky dies at the end. And everybody was saying that. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I saw the movie. Rocky dies at the end. So I went to see the movie, and it was always sold out. I would get there 20-30 minutes before, and I would enter the building, the movie theater, and they would say Rocky 3 sold out, Rocky 3 sold out. I was like, then I'd go again, and I'd enter. And I remember one time I went, and it was like my third try, and the second my foot went into the door or on the floor, they said Rocky 3 sold out, Rocky 3 sold out. I was like, so I ended up going one day, was visiting somebody, and I went to the quiet part of the state where they lived. And they said to me, hey, you want to go see Rocky 3? And I said, oh yeah, I'd like to go see it, but I think it's going to be sold out when we get there. And they go, probably not in this area. So we ended up going, and we got a ticket. And I was very surprised. And we got in the theater, it was just like maybe 4 or 5 people in there. Very quiet. So I got to see Rocky 3. So before I went to see it though, I had run into a friend of mine that claimed that he had seen Rocky 3. And he was telling me all about it, you know, not all about it, but you know, certain things. And then he says to me, Rocky dies at the end. And I go, he does? I was like, why'd they kill the character off? You know, that's not right. So then he leaves, and I finally got to see it, and I'm waiting to see Rocky die at the end. Well, the end comes, and it's just, you know, Rocky and Apollo in Mickey's gym doing that secret fight. So they made that up. I guess this friend of mine, and you know, I don't know, I haven't seen him since, but I guess he wanted to impress me that he was able to get in there and see it. So he had heard that Rocky died, so he just said it thinking it was true. Turned out it wasn't. That's how I knew he didn't see it. But anyway, in that movie, the guy's name is Leroy Neiman. He's a big mustache guy. He was the announcer in the Thunder Lips Rocky fight in Rocky 3. Got that big mustache. He's been dead now a few years, but he was also an artist. And in the movie Rocky 3, at the end there's a drawing or a picture of it's like a still shot of Rocky and Apollo connecting the final punch. I mean, a final fight there. So he drew that, and the other day I was in a shop, and up on the wall I saw this. It's a rare print, and this was featured in Rocky 3. It's got Leroy Neiman. I guess it's Neiman, 1981, but really cool picture. Got a deal on it. I was not going to buy it. They had a price on the wall, and I go, I don't know, I don't really need it, you know. If it was a better price, maybe I'd get it. So I was getting ready to leave, and I just bumped into somebody who worked in there, and I said, let me ask you a question. And he goes, yeah, sure. So I said, come here. So I brought him up to where this was hanging, and I said, what's unusual about me? Why is it so expensive? I mean, not millions of dollars, but you know, relatively expensive. And he goes, I don't know. And he was looking at it. He goes, I don't know. He goes, I think it's a rare print. And I said, oh. And I said, okay. And then he looked at the price, and he said, that's not the price. He goes, they're selling it 50% less. So when he said 50% less, I go, oh, that's a good deal then. And I bought it. So I actually saw the original, the one that was in the movie of this. If you can see a bit of a reflection. Anyway, what was it? 7.5 years back, Stallone was auctioning off all of his Rocky stuff, and Rocky, Rambo, anything that he was in, any kind of movie. I guess he was the collector of all the props, and I was at the auction with him. I mean, we weren't together there, but he was in the same room, and I was standing next to him. So this was hanging up, the full-size version. This one and the other one with the punch, with Apollo and Rocky at the same time. Rocky doing the left, Apollo doing the right. And they were there. I forget how many thousands of dollars they went for, but I got to meet. I didn't say anything to Sylvester. I didn't want to bother him. I don't know if he was not in a mood. I don't know. He didn't seem like he wasn't in a mood, but I didn't feel like bothering him. Plus, he was with a bunch of his buddies there, and he was talking. But Frank was there, and he looked more approachable. So I went and I talked to him for a couple of minutes. I took a picture with him, and Frank Zito was there. Frank Zito impressed me. Very friendly guy, very approachable. Took a picture with him. Nice guy. I was very impressed with Frank Zito. Another mama's boy. So anyway, I ended up getting that. But yeah, Rocky 3 had a rumor of the death of Rocky. There's always been that rumor, though. Every movie they make, they always say, we think this is the one where Rocky's gonna die. That's what they said in 4, but it turned out that Apollo died. 5, there was a rumor that he was gonna die in 5, and I think even that was confirmed by Stallone, that he had written it that way, that Rocky died in 5, I think. 6 did not have that. I guess he got tired of the rumor, and so he just said, we're not gonna go with that again. Yeah, I like this Rocky 3 movie. Good concept. It was short, 91 minutes long. It was a very short movie. I wanted some extra scenes in that. And the other thing, I know he based the fighting style on like Sugar Ray Leonard. That quick punching. Because Sugar Ray Leonard was fast. I've seen fights with Sugar Ray Leonard, like early 80s, 1980, 81, and he was super fast, lightning speed. And so they copied that style, but it was almost like a video game boxing match. It was like pop, 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 and then the other guy would have his 6-7 shots, then Rocky would punch 5 or 6 times, then T would punch a few times, Clubber Lang, James. And so it looked like, I don't know, like that 70s punching game, but it was very quick-paced, so everybody enjoyed that crispness, ducking, missing shots, coming, countering, all that. So, good concept. Fighter loses his hunger, manager protects him by picking easier fights. One thing that made no sense was that Rocky never picked up a paper, never picked up a magazine to read an article about himself, never watched the news to say, why is Rocky ducking the top 10 fighters? Why is he only picking the fighters from like number 45 and up, in terms of ratings? Mickey was like, yeah, they were all good fighters, he goes, but they weren't the top. Nobody, interviewed Rocky to say, what's the problem? Why are you not fighting top 10 contenders? You're fighting all these bums, champion of Germany. So, it's like he was living on an uninhabited island somewhere, and Mickey was giving him the information he wanted him to hear. You think he would have heard something about Mr. T, Clubber Lang. They would have been like, there's this guy, he's ranked number 1. Why don't you fight that guy? It's like, where are you living? You don't watch the news at night? Or anything? Nobody calls you up and says, hey, I got a fight for you. Clubber Lang. And even the name Clubber Lang. And I'm not really a fan of these names that he picks, but you know, the other thing that has always annoyed me about Stallone, this whole promotion of catching pneumonia from cold air, it really annoys me when he says that. You know, when you see Rocky 1 and he says to Adrian, cold night, in the pet shop, he says, cold night, good night to catch pneumonia. I want to tell him that is not the way you catch pneumonia. I know the character's uneducated, but I think Stallone believes that in real life. You know, I want to bump into him and tell him, you know, that pneumonia thing, that's a microorganism. That's like something that you have to inhale, and then it multiplies in your lungs, and you end up with pneumonia. Just stepping on the cold does not cause you to get pneumonia. Otherwise, people who live in the equator would never get pneumonia. And people that live in Alaska would always be sick with pneumonia. So, just, you know, false information. I know Stallone's not a scientist, but you don't have to be a scientist to know that viruses, bacteria, they make you sick. The cold air, depending on how cold it is, but I mean, if it's really cold, you can get hypothermia, frostbite, things like that. But to say I caught the flu because it was cold outside, you're just showing how ignorant you are. Very ignorant. You know, like, older people buy into that because that's what they were taught. But there's no excuse to believe that you caught a cold because you went out with wet hair. You know, or you took a shower or something and then you stepped out and it was like 30 degrees, and the next day you're coughing and you got sick because you went out with, you know, a wet body or something. Makes no difference. No difference. Now, if you're telling me about hypothermia, yes. Yes, if you go outside and it's freezing and you go out there with your underwear, you're gonna get hypothermia. Frostbite, your fingers, you know, they may turn black, fall off eventually. That is due to the cold. That's because it's cold out. But if you go out and, you know, 25 degrees and you go to the grocery store and come back, do not think you got sick because it was cold outside. Because if you do, you're wrong. Anyway, that's it. That's it.